Mic check. Just waking up in the morning, gotta thank God. I don't know, but today seems kind of hard. No barking from the dog, no smog. And mama cooked the breakfast with no hog. Boom, classic Ice Cube. Today was a good day. What up, America? Hello, world. It is your new best friend, Cashmere, California, and this is the Pod is Good podcast, aka the Notorious PIG, episode 70. Pod is good, and all the time. If you know, you know. If you don't, keep listening. You will find out. Today, I got a legend in the building. I got an incredible story. When I tell you that I've been waiting on this, me and this guy been talking for the past few weeks, getting ready for this interview, getting ready for this sit down. And each day that went by, I got more and more excited for this moment right here. Today is going to be a good one. So sit down, share the live with somebody, share this moment with somebody. Take some notes because I guarantee no matter what you're doing in your life, this will inspire you. All right, let's get it going. My guy, the platinum selling recording artist, the man behind some of the greatest hits that R&B and hip-hop has ever heard, the man that I hear they call the soul of the Bay, Mike Meezy. What's going on, my guy?
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Yo, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. I know you got a lot going on. You know, every time I talk to you, super busy. So taking a moment out to join us at the podcast studio, we're just happy to have you, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Happy to have you. So I want to get straight into it. I know we got a lot of ground to cover, and I appreciate you being willing to cover it with us. Like I told everybody in the beginning, I know that this story, your story, is one of great inspiration as we hear everything that you went through, as we hear, you know, what the days of music life, you know, with you were. You know what I mean? Like in the
hmm
music industry, out the music industry. And a lot of us never really get a chance to hear these stories in depth. You know, we kind of get little clips here and there, little blurbs, little headlines, but we don't really get a chance to understand like what's happening with the person behind all these stories. And so today I want to get into that with you. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
When did you know that you wanted to be an artist?
um, it was in high school. Um, yeah, so I don't know if I actually wanted to be an artist at this moment, but
Hmm.
I knew that I wanted to sing in front of people. I
Hmm.
was in a talent show at my high school. I went to Berkeley High,
Okay.
and
Shout
we
out
had,
Berkeley.
yes, sir, and we would have these talent shows. So uh, as a 10th grader is when I got to Berkeley High, and that was the first year I sang in the talent show. So up until that moment, I was just the new kid on campus who made a lot of noise. I'm like a mockingbird. I imitate all kinds of sounds. So
Wow.
the older kids on campus and the kids my age all kind of knew me as that kid who's always singing or making some kind of noise. Like I would imitate sirens and alarms and all kinds of stuff. I'm just kind of built that way. So I
Did,
sang in a talent show. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
did that reminds me of I forget his name, the guy from Police Academy. Uh you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever in your own world like kind of try to compete with him? Because I know that's what he did. He made all kinds of birds and doors closing and someone walking down the street. Like, did you do the same thing?
Well, I didn't do it to his extreme because he had monetized it, but I did, try to do the things that he did in his movies.
Yeah.
Some of them I could pull off, and then other ones taught me how to get other sounds to kind of dial them in so that they sounded more like what they were because of what he was doing with his face and with his mouth. So I learned
Right.
some things from him for sure. But yeah, back to the talent show. In the 10th grade, I sang in the talent show, and I won that talent show. And
Mm.
from that moment on, um, the older kids um, started speaking to me, and particularly the women, the girls. So
Wow.
at that moment, I knew that this is something that I probably
Uh,
wanted to do.
do you remember what you sung at the talent show?
Oh, just find 100 ways.
Mm, that's a good one.
Rest in
Good.
peace, James Ingram.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. So hold on. You did this talent show and you said in middle school?
No, 10th grade.
10th grade. So you're in high school.
Yeah.
So to sing James Ingram as a sophomore in high school, that says a lot about your upbringing in music. You know what I'm saying? Like
And
was that like who else did you listen to during that time that influenced you and like your song style ability and all that?
so this is 80 or 81 when that talent show happened. Up and up until that point, well, here. So the backstory is, I'm from a super religious family. Right, I'm raised by my mom. I got three siblings, and so we were church kids, and my mom was the children's choir director. So I was always singing, and she had us as a family singing for holiday events and stuff like that at the church.
Hmm.
So my influence for music was mostly was gospel.
Okay.
My church believed that secular music was for quote unquote the devil's folks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't really allowed to do that. But I had cousins who would be playing that kind of music when I was around them. So I would get little pieces and
It's
bits.
always
And
a
in
cousin.
fact,
It's always a
one of my
cousin.
one of my cousins used to have me imitate Michael Jackson's "I'll Be There." So I've had some experience with Michael, but I hadn't really heard Marvin and
Mm.
Ingram. I'm not sure how I ran into him, but I was able to play that and practice that at the house, and it wasn't pissing moms off. So uh, at that point, there wasn't too many um, people who I followed after, except for maybe James Ingram
Yeah.
and a guy named, no, I mean not James Ingram, uh, James Cleveland
James Cleveland.
and
Okay.
Andre Crouch. So those were the
Ah.
people who I kind of listened to more than anything
Oh
at
yeah.
that time in my life.
Yeah. Big singers though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. Um. And then, but so somewhere in there, you went from. Actually, I gotta ask when you were singing Michael, did you just sing Michael or did you also dance Michael?
Now I was just strictly singing because it was a
Okay.
slow song. I've heard
That's true. That's true.
ABC and all that stuff, but I wasn't really a dancer.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Michael is like he's like that infectious dancer where it's like in order, it's almost like singing Prince, you have to like air guitar. And
Oh
singing
yeah, for
Michael,
sure.
you gotta, you know what I mean?
Uh,
you gotta do something. You gotta give some Michael in your rendition.
I might have been doing the robot dance to dancing, dancing, dancing. Yeah, I kind of remember that too.
There you go. I'm telling you, it comes out. You gotta take it all in if you want to hit those notes. So how'd you transform, or when did you transform from just um basically covering other great music to actually starting to write your own music?
That happened after high school. I was at Laney College in Oakland.
Mm.
I was taking a piano class as an elective, and I was studying broadcast journalism at the time. So in this piano class, I'd be doodling different melodies in my head because my head is filled with melodies, even from a young age. And I started working on this um, bass line from a song that I knew. I Keep Forgetting by Michael McDonald. So I was trying to learn how to play that on the piano. And so for a few weeks, I would be doing that in class, and I would take that melody home And at the time, I was living with a guy named Marcus, and he had a Casio, so I'll be doing it on his Casio, practicing it too. Because once a little melody is in my head, it kind of sticks with me. You know what I mean? For a while. So I was fooling around with that for about a month, and I guess he got tired of it. And he said, "Why don't you put that music to some of these lyrics that I got?" Because he was a prolific writer, and I say that because there were lyrics everywhere in the house. I mean, they were on the walls, on the tables, everywhere. He was just writing lyrics. I didn't have that calling back then to be writing things down that I thought. It wasn't that kind of. Now I was a good writer. I was a creative writer. Uh, you know, writing descriptive stories or um, fictional stories, that kind of thing. But I wasn't writing lyrics. So anyway, he asked me to put those two things together, and I did. And that was rumors. Those were the rumors lyrics, and that was the base of the music for that song at that time. So that would be the first time that I did any writing. Oh no, I don't hear you. I don't hear you.
My apologies.
There you
Uh,
go. Okay.
there we go. Hold on. Are you telling me that Rumors was the first time that you actually wrote a song?
Yeah. 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 It's the first song I ever wrote.
Bro,
And keep in mind,
bro,
I did just the music, and he did the lyrics.
bro, do you understand how many people are going to be furious when they hear that? Like, do you know how many people write song after song after song for years and they just can't catch fire? And then here come Mike out the gate, first song, cult classic. Like, how do you pull that off? I mean, I get the marriage, I get the melody, the lyrics. You put them together, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? It worked beautifully,
Um,
obviously. But I mean,
Well,
when you stand back and think of that, like, yo,
the music that I chose to do was already a popular song, and I don't think people recognized it inside of Rumors where that came from. Because when I bring it up, most people are surprised by that. So that was some familiar chord progressions and notes that people kind of knew already. So
yeah, that
with the
helps.
new lyrics and
Yeah,
the theme of the lyrics, it just kind of made it the kind of song that people could gravitate to. And the thing about it, it was different than anything that was going on at that time.
yeah.
It crossed a few boundaries. Some people thought it was a reggae song. Some people thought it was a rap song. But it was some Berkeley shit. That's all it was. It was some Berkeley shit.
Hmm. Okay. So, okay. I'm still wrapping my head around this being like the first song. Okay, so now I gotta ask, though that was the first song, I'm assuming because you said you wrote stories and other things, you wrote plenty of other songs, right?
Yeah.
Tons of songs down the road. Was that your favorite song? Like
No.
personally?
No. Um, the next song that we did together, me and Marcus, was a song called "Thinking About You." At the time, I was dating a woman, and we had broke up. Now, these are my Marcus it was a close friend of mine, and the circle of friends that we had, um, we all hung out together with our significant others and all that stuff. So
Hmm,
the breakup was known in the circle, and people knew how I was going through it. And I lived with Marcus at the time, so he saw me going through it. So he wrote some lyrics about that relationship, and I had some more another melody that I was working on, and it just happened to fit that music also. And
wow.
that song turned out to be my favorite song. That song's called "Thinking About You."
Thinking about you. I feel like I heard that one during my deep dive into your into your discography. Uh
Yes.
And so what about it? Was it just a connection to your actual life? Was it the sonics of it? Was there any what was the thing that makes that one like, man, that one still resonates as my favorite song?
It's the melody combination of the main melody and the bass line, and then the story and the summation of the story into the hook of "Thinking About You, Girl." Um, and it's the it's the idea and melody that Club Nouveau's "Why You Treat Me So Bad" is from, because they stole all of my musical ideas. So that particular one, um, I use that as an example of what it sounded like. Though that melody is from "Thinking About You," the "Why You Treat Me So Bad," and um, the theme was just so personal that it stuck with me more than the rumor one would, right? Because I didn't really have any experience with people lying on me or
Yeah, yeah.
spreading rumors about me, so I didn't really feel that one that deeply at that point. Now, as life
Right,
went on, yeah, for sure. But
right,
in that timeline, thinking about you and the breakup with this woman, and the melodies that were in it, that still sticks with me to this day.
I can see it. I can see it. Just thinking about it, it's like across your face. Like,
Yeah,
it still touches you. Um,
that's
and
my
that means
shit.
that that means a lot.
Yeah.
Hold on. Give us a part of it.
The main part is thinking about you, girl. But the song starts with "Woke one morning with tears in my eyes, 'cause you had left me without a kiss or a note or goodbye." And then it goes on to tell the story of the breakup, and basically, it's just
Wow.
letting her know that I'm thinking about her, even though she decided to move on. A lot of
So
people kind of felt that song. I hear from a lot of people about that, even to this day,
I could
that they
imagine.
kind of felt that one.
Like, that's the beauty about music, man. When you're that honest and transparent about it, there's no way for other people not to connect.
That's right.
You know what I
Somebody
mean?
else is feeling that somewhere.
Absolutely. And it says a lot about you and your friendship with the guy that wrote the lyrics. What was his name again?
Marcus Thompson.
Marcus Thompson. So a lot about you and Marcus, because you had to be very transparent. You know what I mean? For him to not only be able to write it, but be able to write it so perfectly that it touches you years later. Like, it really encapsulated everything that you were really going through in that moment. That says a
Yeah.
lot about the bond that you guys had.
Oh yeah, we were definitely close. He was my first muse, because
Mm,
he was really into music, um, a little more so than I was. Because again, I couldn't really listen to anything but gospel. I had a little record player at home, but I mostly played gospel songs or really slow ballady kind of stuff. Because
mm.
everything else would have freaked my mom out. But once I got out of high school and living with him, I got to hear all kinds of stuff, and we'd be talking all the time. And like I say, we were close, and the couples were close. So when we broke up, it kind of was like a part of the family was gone.
Yeah.
So he probably had his feelings about it, and he saw how I was going to do it. But the lyrics he chose were right on point, to the point where for a while there, maybe 20, 30 years after that, when I was doing interviews, I had forgot that he had wrote those lyrics. I thought that I had wrote those lyrics.
Oh, wow.
Totally, I forgot about it.
Wow. Wow. Um, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we were tight. We were real tight.
Did you know, kind of going back to rumors, did you know when you guys recorded rumors that it would be as big as it became?
No, I had no gauge to know what even meant. You know what I mean? In
Mhm.
my eyes, big was Michael Jackson and Prince, right? Because those were the guys who my circle of friends really locked in on. There was a half of the group was Prince fans, and half of the group was Michael Jackson fans. So there was this constant debate about uh, those two artists and the way they got down and the things they did. I
Mm.
got sidetracked. What was the question you asked me again?
Like, did you know the song was
Oh
gonna
no,
be as big?
no, I had no grasp of that, and I wasn't even thinking that way. So the thing about it, when we did rumors uh, on the little Casio, on the little 4-track cassette tape,
Yeah,
uh, it was just something that we did, right?
yeah,
And we were in a club called the Mixologist Group, right? And it wasn't for for mixed drinks. It was for DJing, right? So we would
Mm,
always get together and share records and share songs and just build around music. So I we did it to have a vinyl to play at parties.
wow.
So we because one of the guys who we hung around with was a DJ for um, I forgot the name of the DJ group, but they do parties that we went to at like Veterans Hall in Berkeley or the Poly Ballroom up by Cal. These are
Okay.
places where we went to party as under 21-year-olds. You know what I mean? And so to have a record that we could get the DJ to play that was ours was something that we thought would be really cool. So that was the only thing we were looking for. But we performed that song in the talent shows at Berkeley High. Remember I told you I did it when in the 10th grade?
Yep.
After we graduated in '83, the '84 um, talent show, we asked to be in it. And we were told because we weren't students there anymore, we couldn't do that. But the activities coordinator, she had love for us. We were close with that lady, Miss Bennett, Delette Bennett. She said, "You guys can maybe do a song while the judges are tallying the votes for the other
Uh,
talents that are being a talent show." And we were like, "Okay." So we did Rumors that day, and we never looked back. From that day on, all those kids loved that song. And so there was a teacher who worked at the school who was from LA, but he was going to Cal. And he had some experience in the music business. I don't really know what exactly. Well, he might have just had the gift of gab. But he took the rough version we had and traveled with it during the summer break. And when we got back together, he was letting us know that a lot of people like that all over the United States. And that proved itself out when someone reached out to us to take us to the studio to record that to get a finished version. And that's
wow.
when we was like, oh yeah, now we can have a record. And that's pretty much all we were thinking about when all
Yeah.
this was going down.
Wow. All right. So I think we're kind of at the place that I wanted to get to. So on my show, we have a moment that we call the tipping point. Okay. Uh, every superhero, every character story has a tipping point. The tipping point for Spider-Man might have been the moment that he got bitten by the radioactive spider and got these new powers. And then that
Mhm.
transformation into understanding what his new world is now is kind of his character story, right? We all have that. We all have like a pivotal moment where you kind of saw it go from here to here. Things
Mhm.
changed after that moment. Um, I hear you saying that you guys went and recorded your first song ever. You went and recorded an actual studio version of it so that it could be broadcast to the world. And then I also see you performing that on Soul Train with Don Cornelius introducing the group, right?
Mhm.
In your head, you know kind of where I'm going as far as what that moment was. Maybe the moment that you realized, wow, we got something, the moment that you heard it on the radio and like, whoa, or a moment you got that phone call and they told you about being on Soul Train, whatever that moment was. I want you, this is the hard part. This is all on you now. I want you to speak about yourself and the group in third person. You're telling their story. And I want you to tell me about this tipping point where everything went from point A to point B. I'm gonna play some very dramatic music to kind of help you with the story, and you can tell it as you may. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, and then we're gonna go to the comments because I got some comments building up in the in the chat. So, all
Okay.
right, without further ado, uh, this is Mike Meezy and the tipping point. Sir, begin your spiel.
So in 1986, these four kids from Berkeley um, had in their hip pocket um, a game-changing um, song. They weren't aware of how, um, quote unquote, the game was going to change for them, but they had this in their hip pocket, and that's all they really, their naivete will let them think that that's all that they really wanted to do with that. There were some members who were more into what was going on with the project than others, and there were some who fully grasped what was about to happen and kind of took a step back to make sure that they could continue on with whatever else that they had planned on doing before this song came out. Um, with that in mind, the lead singer was away in college, um, and the song "Rumors" was not being shown any love in the Bay Area. It had to swing back from Texas, radio station KDAY Day, and Terry Avery's the program director out there. She broke the record in the South, and so therefore, the way the radio industry works, whatever's not somewhere else, another region will start to play it too. Because it's about um, advertisement, and your advertisement comes from your listener base. So with those songs being popular other places, and to find out that the artists were from the Bay Area started playing it. Then once it took off like that, then they had to get the main focus of the song, the vocalist. They had to go get him from college and try to keep the momentum of the song going, because there was no visuals, there was no interviews, there was no write-ups. It was just a song being played on the radio, and people thought they were a Jamaican group. So to the main uh, the main talent in the group, the singer, they had to pull him out of college, and that was surprising to him, I'm sure. Um, and it just changed his whole direction. He was working on being the first. Uh, there was a black guy on ESPN. He passed away. He was a very descriptive, colorful analyst. And what he was doing, Stuart Scott was his name. What he was doing, Michael Marshall was doing at Berkeley High and in the prep sports arena. So he was planning on doing that with his life. That's where he was headed. He was studying that in college. But then they came and got him from Cal Poly. That's where he had transferred from Laney in '86. He was only there for maybe 4 or 5 months, and they came up with the record in hand and said that we needed to get back and complete an album, because there are people who were interested in it. So that was the turning point. That changed everything. It changed the direction of a lot of those guys' lives. Some of them it didn't hinder them, because they were, a couple of guys were playing the manager role, and a couple of guys were uh, stage presence, because the only voice that you would hear on that song was Michael Marshall's. He had did the music. So in the record industry world, you try to cut the fat. You only need what you need. And that part destroyed the friendships, because we didn't fully understand how that was supposed to be. And when it started to happen, the powers that be pitted us against each other. And I mean, to be honest, both parties kind of bit into what they were trying to get us to do. And they basically were trying to get us to break up so that they could control the main person that was being created. Yeah, that's how I saw that.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. I like that was incredible. Great work. That
That's
told
pretty
us a
funny.
lot. That told us a lot. Um, wow. Thanks for sharing. So Timex Social Club is like started was it was friends.
Yes.
These are friends. This is not like when Diddy sees Total in a bar and says I can put anybody together, and just throws three random people together and gives them some producers and some writers, and then boom, these are friends that came together with
Yeah.
different talents, it sounds like. So one is
Mhm.
great with lyrics, somebody else is great with harmonies, and they came together and created this world.
Yeah, that's right. And we
Wow.
were naive and young and weren't ready for all the different things that come. And I'm not talking about like drugs and women and all that. I'm just talking about capitalism,
Yeah.
greed, and control. We weren't prepped for that. We
Yeah.
we had no idea about that.
But you're young. I mean, at this time, you're like what, 20, 20,
20 or 21. Yeah.
2021? Yeah. This is around 86. So
Mm-hmm.
you're 2021. So it affects your friendships, of course, because
Yeah.
now, once the industry's teeth get in there, it's hard to
Yeah.
pull them bad boys out.
Yeah.
Pull them out clean. They're gonna come out with something, right?
Right.
Does it also affect your family life? Like, I don't know if you had kids during that time or not, but your relationship with your family, or does that go well?
It was another way for me to escape the church kind of vibe that ran through my family. Right.
Mm,
We were all raised in that, so that's all we knew, and I think that's where the problem started. I had no idea about anything. There's no
mm,
dad at home. It's just my mom. She's super religious, and she's not implementing anything but that book,
wow.
uh, that Bible, right? The quote unquote the Bible.
Yeah.
Uh, and I just was not ready for the real world out there and how men and women think about money and power. I
Mm,
I had no grasp for that. Now I definitely had an aspect of I could feel how people felt when I sang and what they felt about that, but I didn't know how to monetize that or didn't know that it would be taken as serious as it is taken all over the world. There
yeah.
was some people who were around us. Your Jay Kings, he had invested the money for us to record that, and he might have had big dreams, but he too didn't go about it the right way, so he kind of missed the window. And when he approached us to solidify what he was trying to do, the one thing that we did know, me and my guys, one thing we did know is that the music business was shady because I mentioned earlier that we were a divided camp. One was Prince, one was Michael Jackson. And
Mm,
at that time, both of them were going through it with their record companies, and we followed that intensely. So we knew that record companies weren't shit. That's what our understanding of that business was at a
right.
young age at that time. So
Yeah.
we had no plans to even get involved in that. So when Jay King came to us needing to have us locked up because he's out there telling the world that he's got this group that's on the radio and it's got this number one song, but that he needs to prove that. And he didn't have anything like that.
Mm,
So when he came back to get that from us, we told him we didn't want to do it the way he wanted to do it. I mean, his pitch to us was 10 years. And we all we knew was that 10 years seemed like forever.
10
And that
years
that
forever as a 20-year-old.
yeah, yeah. It's like what? And then we there was no mention of money and pay and monetize. We didn't understand any of that. All we heard
Yeah.
was him say that. At least me, I did. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do it. I want to go back to school. I'm trying to
Mm,
get this journalism thing off the ground.
right.
And this
Right.
was good for us to have some fun. But the people around us knew that it was more than that. So again, they tried to get a grasp of it and
Yeah.
get a little bit more control and
Yeah.
separate us, and then trim the fat and kind of keep what they wanted to focus on.
Hmm. Yep. I mean, that sounds like the industry.
Oh yeah,
Hook,
for sure.
hook, line, and sinker. that
Still to
sounds
this day.
that sounds exactly like them. So they see something, they see something's promising. They can never just let it be. You know what I mean? They can never just see it and then try to just organically elevate it. It's like they have to get in and rework it and add all
Hmm.
the sauce to it and end up it always ends up a disaster. And so we kind of can hear, the train wreck approaching, right?
Yeah, right.
The the wheels are screeching on the tracks. But just
Hmm.
for I want to make sure that everybody is in perfect understanding as we move forward, because I do think this is getting into a very into like the tension of the story. I want everybody to know the characters that we're talking about, just in case they don't already know. So can we break down who is in Timex Social Club? You know, who does what, so that when we get towards the uh Club Nouveau and those things, like we understand what how things happen. You see what I'm saying? Where all the parties went.
Okay. Timex Social Club started um, from the mixologist crew. That was Marcus Thompson,
Okay.
Michael Marshall, Greg Thomas, and a dude named Darren Cleage. Now, there was a fifth member. His name was Craig Samuels. But Craig was and this is not in a negative way, but he was the square of all of us.
Mm,
Craig was the one who was into the books. He had the car already. He had responsibilities, and he
mm,
was close with his family. So he was always kind of off to the side, but we did everything together. You know, we
mm.
were in the same graduating class, so
Tito Jackson.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We did everything together. But inside the group, the Marshall was the singer and the music creator. Marcus Thompson was the lyrics guy. Darian Cleage was choreograph
Mm,
guy. He was a dancer dude. He was from Detroit. He was really into dancing. And Greg Thomas, he was he was the grown man of us, right?
okay.
So
Need
we
that.
we considered him our manager at the time back then. So those were the main characters:
Okay.
Marcus, Michael, um, Greg, and Darian. Um, so once when we went to the studio, that was with Jay King, and he was from like Vallejo and Sacramento, but he wanted to record that and put it up to vinyl and get a better sound. He brought a couple of guys in that he was working with, um, Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy.
Hmm.
So inside the studio, it was just um, us, and
Okay.
we did and recorded that. They mixed it down and they pressed it. And now they're playing it on the radio, and there is no Club Nouveau at this time. But again, when he came with that contract,
Yeah.
uh, he it wasn't something we wanted to do. So when we told him no, he told us that he was going to tell the press that the Timex watch company had a problem with the name and that he was going to change it. Now, the reason he could speak on that is because the vinyl that he put the song on was on something called King J Records. And we weren't wise enough to realize what that meant. But now he has control, and when people want to reach out about that song for
Mm,
publishing, for shows, they're going to be reaching out to him. So that
to
was
J King.
one, yeah, that was one little trick that kind of set it off in
Yeah.
the kind of crooked direction.
And so
I
he's
hope
like your manager at the time, or is he just like
just the
liaison
guy
to
who
the
paid,
industry?
just the guy who paid for the studio, and he didn't have any connection to the industry. The
Wow.
industry came to him because his name was on it, and they had no connection to us. Now,
Wow.
once once he once he came to us with that um, contract, and we said no, the guy who took the 4-track um, production of Rumors that summer around the world.
Yeah.
His name was Charles Douglas. We called him Natty Prep. He was a teacher's assistant at Berkeley High in the African American Studies department, right?
Yeah.
Um, he was at Cal studying rhetoric. So everybody on campus kind of knew him. So we were we felt good about taking his advice and listening to what he was trying to say. So once we told him what Jay King had done, he went out looking for someone else to be in our corner and kind of see if we can uh, get the train back on the track because we had a really hot song, and all they wanted was a follow up. So he reached out and somehow he met a guy named Dave Lucchese. Dave Lucchese worked for Warner Brothers as an A&R guy, but he
Okay.
also had a offshoot label called Dania Records. Dania Records' most popular song was "The Show" from Dougie Fresh, and
Mm.
I can't remember the dude's name at this time, but I should know it. Dougie Fresh and
Slick Rick.
Slick Rick. Without your wrinkle pussy, yeah, that dude. Yeah. So yeah, that would become our ally for a while, and so he was the one that was going to fight for us against Jay King and whatever he was going to be trying to do. That's
Gotcha.
what we were told, and that's what we thought, and that's why we kind of moved off into that direction.
And so you say we, that's all the four original members, even
Yes.
even Tito, even though he was doing other things.
Hmm. Yeah.
So all of you said, all right, we done with J King. We're not trying to do the 10-year or whatever you got going on. We over
Right.
here, right?
Right. Right.
So at that point, we're all still together. So then, so I mean, I want to back up for a second because you live in the dream right now. You don't went from we just made this to be on the Casio so we could play it in some parties to where now we're actually talking to someone who works at Warner Brothers, is connected to Warner. We're dealing with A&R. This is professional now.
Yeah.
Like he's talking to big time artists. This is not just the Bay Area no more. This ain't trying to get noticed. Like we're with someone that can let the world notice us, right?
Right.
Like now you're out here. I don't know if there's any money coming yet, but at least your mind is in a place of like, he said, no, ain't no money yet. Like, and I get that. I get that.
Mhm.
We'll get into that. So as you're looking into the industry, like, oh my goodness, we might be going there, right? How does that feel? Is it surreal?
Uh,
Can you really taste it at all, or what?
at that point, there was no real, and I can only speak for myself, but I was the one kind of right on the forefront. When Lucchese was there and
Yeah,
when Jake King was there having these conversations, they were talking to me.
yeah,
They were,
yeah,
they were trying to they were trying to pull me into to agreement with what they were trying to do because if I went, then the rest of the guys would go because why wouldn't they?
yeah.
And if they didn't, that would be even better for both of those parties because all they really wanted was me.
Got
You know
it.
what I mean? And I didn't know that in this moment. I learned that years later. I did not know
So
that that was what
you
was
didn't
going
have
on.
that feeling at all. I
Yeah.
mean, y'all a group, and you in the room just talking to them, and
Yeah.
they're not asking for nobody else to be in the room. They're not saying
No,
let's
no,
fit in other members.
not like that. That we're all in the room, but the
Okay.
conversation is focused towards me. You know what I mean? There's five
Uh,
of us in this room, but dudes are looking at me. And in fact, Jay King handed the contract to me that he wanted us to kind of sign. Now there was, like I said, there was a manager guy in the group, kind of, but he was more like, just he was like the more grown of us. You know what I mean? So that's why that responsibility fell on his shoulders. But also, he didn't have any idea how this game worked. We had the number one song in the country,
mm,
and we did an offer to sing at Great America, right?
mhm.
Uh, and the the price that they offered us was $1,000, but they were playing Jermaine Stewart more than that, and it was just him. I had four other people there with me. We all should be able to get $1,000 was what I was thinking at the time, and it wasn't a big head thing. It was just simply the fact that Rumors was number one,
Yeah,
and Let's Get Serious wasn't.
yeah,
And in my naive mind, it just made sense that the better would get the most. I
right.
didn't know this for a fact, but later on I found out that it is a fact. That's not how it works. The more popular gets the most in negotiations. That's how it
Yeah,
works.
that's it.
But my experience and our naivete put us in that situation with Jermaine, and also the situation on the Raising Hell tour. And the same thing, we were getting paid the least, and we have the biggest song at that time.
Wow,
But it's a cold game, and
it's a very cool game.
if you don't know, no one's going to tell you.
Yeah,
No one's going to tell you.
and this is why these conversations are so important because as cold as it was then, it's just as cold now.
Oh
It
yeah,
ain't warmed up a degree,
no, not at
right?
all.
If
Hmm.
anything, the temperature dropped, right? Because
Hmm.
it's more money in it now.
And more of those cutthroat kind of people too. So it stays
Exactly.
liberty.
Exactly. So, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm having a hard time believing because at this point you done seen Michael and the Jackson Five. You done saw what happened with that.
Yeah, yeah,
Michael is doing his own thing now. So it's like
yeah.
you gotta have some kind of inclination that like, yo, what? it feels like y'all not treating us the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I'm only asking this because you can. There's a possibility that the other members in the group they sitting there like, why you hand it to him? Why you keep posing all the questions to him? Why you ain't
yeah,
ask me nothing? I'm sitting right here. I
yeah.
wrote that. I wrote that. Why you ain't talking to me?
hmm
Like
And
like
why is he asking for more money when that could ruin it for all of us? Because if we hold out, then they're not going to pay any of us. So
right.
there was that fear too that I might be getting a big head and overstepping my bounds. But I was getting information from the Charles Douglas character
Mm,
because he kind of understood how business works. He's a grown ass man, so he kind of understood how business works. So when I posed that we get paid more money that day at Great America, or we weren't going on, he backed me. But then they all got mad, and
yeah.
that's the day it kind of fell apart with the friend group and the friendship because they were saying things to me that day that I hadn't heard, and I didn't know that they really felt that way.
Mm,
Um, but it is what it is, and it was what it was. But I wasn't wrong. Uh, there was just some naivete going on there, and some manipulation by other people in the middle. If we had a chance to talk that through, I think it could have stayed close knit and tight with these guys more than it ended up doing because it's
and so
not.
what were they saying? Like what kind of things did they feel that maybe you just didn't know? And now in hindsight, when you think of those conversations or those statements that were made, though you might not have been attempting that or that might not have been your intention or whatever was naivete at the time, now looking back on it, can you connect with any of it? Or do you just feel, like how do you feel about what you heard during that time from the
Oh
group?
well, at the time, and even to this day, I understood what they were saying because, well, I can't say at the time. At the time, it was hurtful because I
Mm,
was being called big-headed, selfish.
yeah.
Um, you doing too much. I'm not even sure if that was a phrase back then, but the equivalent of that. Yeah, they just didn't understand why I would be causing problems. To them, it seemed like it was causing problems. But I just was, I just thought we deserved better.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was just trying to push for that. And then as we, and then years later, when I look at it, it's like, yeah, man, we were young kids. Of course, they didn't know, and I didn't know. I was just taking the lead for him, but he wasn't wrong. But at the same time, he was trying to draw a division between us.
Mm.
Charles Douglas, along with Dave Lucchese, they wanted to get rid of those other guys. They wanted it to just be me. And Lucchese even, so the guys, they already had it in their head that this was coming. Because to my surprise, they had a stipulation with Dave Lucchese that if you ever try to put Mike out front, name wise or even act wise, we're all going to leave.
Oh
And
wow.
that's all they needed to hear. So when he
Oh
presented the
wow.
artwork for the album that we were going to do, it said the Timex Social Club featuring Michael Marshall, and they and
Ah.
so that's all he wanted them to do was to sign off that yeah we're out. And yeah, that
So
move
so
I'm
he
sure
so he knew that stipulation, and so he did it on purpose to to,
exactly
to force their hand.
exactly. And instead of them
Wow.
backing down and realizing that that doesn't really matter, and there are a lot of groups where the front man is doing his thing, but other people behind still share in the profits, if
Yeah,
that's what they were
absolutely.
worried about. But maybe they all wanted to be out front too.
Maybe.
Maybe. Whereas I didn't. It would have been lovely if there was other people on stage with me. Because there was when we were doing the Raising Hell thing, but we were doing playback through
Mm.
MIDI. The one
Oh
guy
yeah.
in the back would push a button and it would play our whole set
Yeah.
automatically, right?
Yeah.
And then two guys are on stage flanking me with guitar keyboards that aren't plugged in, and the only person working, the only person putting out any effort in these shows was me.
Mm.
And I think that
Yeah.
that that didn't that didn't that didn't mean anything to them. I don't think they understood how hard that was
Hmm.
and how much work I had to do in front of all these people. They're
Yeah.
focused on me. Now I know my boys are doing their thing on stage and they feel that it's, but as the singer of every part of the song, the audience is focused in on me. So that wasn't really my fault. And I wasn't trying to cut them out, but they wanted to make sure that they had a, I don't know, man, that they had a place, but they always had a place because it was a Timex Social Club. It was
I lost. Hold on. Where you at? Hold on. Timex Social Club done tapped into the stream. Uh-oh. Hold on. What we doing? What we doing, Timex? Why are you doing this to me? Where you go? All right, y'all. Give me a second. Y'all know how I go. This ain't our first rodeo. You know what I'm saying? This episode 70. So, we've been here before. We've been here before. We just got to figure out what's going on. Maybe my guy got a call. Let's see. Yeah, maybe my guy got a call. Hold on. All right. Hopefully we're gonna get Mike back on here. I apologize. Can't really tell what happened right now, but he's a good dude. So if he can get back on, he will. And man, this is a good one. I told y'all, right? I told y'all from the gate, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. And I'm glad I had him break down all the members of the group, so everybody can follow. Not everybody probably even knows the whole Timex Social Club and um, exactly which songs that they did and all that. And we are gonna get into I Got Five on it. Don't trip. I get it. We all want to know how that come about, right? But this is a big part of his story. This is a big part of the elevation of him before he even went solo and got to that point. So I didn't want to just, brush over it too fast because I felt like it was the most important part of what makes, Mike who he is today. So I think I got him back. Where you at? Where you at? Let me see. You back on, Mike? I think he's still trying to tap in. Let me give him a few more moments. Oh, we were coming up on the end, so we still got to go over. I got five on it. I want to finish up hearing how this man. It's so unfortunate how groups fall victim. You know what I mean, to the industry. The industry is nothing to play with, y'all. Like are they're not intentionally trying to destroy groups. They just know what feeds them. And so, like Mike was saying about trimming the fat, like it's no different than you. You pick up a piece of steak or whatever, and it has some fat or something that you don't want, or a piece of chicken, and you don't eat the skin, or you pull the bones out. That's it. That's it. Yeah, I see you. I see you. Oh, we got our guy back. Okay, hold on. There you go. There you
okay.
go.
I don't know what happened, man. I was just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, you were talking like you couldn't hear me. I'm here.
All right. We got you back. So I'm not sure if you remember where you left off.
No.
But I, in that vein of kind of where you were going, I wanted to ask. You said in the beginning you guys already knew that the music industry ain't right. So
Yeah.
we don't even want to get involved with it like that. We already
Right.
know.
Right.
So how did this happen? You know what I'm saying? Like how did you because and I'm saying this because a lot of people don't realize it till later on. A lot of
Yeah.
people, their eyes are just so big. We're gonna be a millionaires, and we're gonna travel the world and have the women, and like they're just, gung ho about it. Y'all walked in as young gentlemen, incredibly knowledgeable. Like, no, 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 no. We get this, right? We ain't about this. Let's do what we got to do. Let's get what we can. But we ain't letting them do what they do. And then they did it.
Yeah.
How?
Um, Division, divide and conquer.
Mm,
So there wasn't like any P Diddy's in this um, situation. There wasn't anybody who was wanted to glam us up and have us out everywhere being seen.
mm,
So as the record is playing in our community, in our hometown,
yeah,
our friends are hitting us up like it's a big deal, and they're very proud of us. And that's all. I'm gonna still speak for myself now. That's all I understood about it. I didn't know there was money to be made. I know that sounds weird because we're watching all these people that we're fans of, and we know they have money, but
yeah,
I didn't know how they monetized records. If it was they got a share of every time somebody bought a record, then that's one thing. But we
yeah.
didn't have, in my understanding, that we didn't have but one copy of the record. I didn't
Mm,
know it was being pressed up and it was in record stores. And I didn't know that
yeah.
until after the conversation with Jay King and the fallout with him.
Mm,
Then now this other dude, the David Casey, he sees it easily as money because he I used to say he tricked us, but he just basically persuaded us to side our publishing away because we didn't know. And we thought we were just signing with him because this is what he told us. He says, I will get your money from Jay King and I can get you on the Racing Hell tour and I can help you get your album done. And all this
mm,
confusion that's going around. What I did here was we need to follow up this song. It's really popular. Let's put another one out. And I had heard that before. That phrasing and that conversation I heard about other artists. So I was like, okay, well that I think that's the natural progression. So let's do that. And again, I had no plans. I had
yeah,
no guidance. I was raised by an over aggressively religious woman and
yeah,
her community,
yeah,
and I didn't have any male perspective as to what was going on in the world, except from this guy, Charles Douglas, who has now grabbed me up and is now keeping me from family and friends so he can kind of guide where we're trying to go with this. And I'm
yeah,
sure he was looking out for me, but at the same time, he saw that this can be monetized and he understood how a manager worked and what percentage that was. So
yeah,
he was acting as the manager, and I definitely was kind of turning it all over to him because I
yeah,
didn't know. So I just
yeah,
followed his lead.
yeah. And then we find ourselves. You might not have thought it was gonna get here, but it got here, right? Next thing you know, you out here, right?
Yeah,
You out here. You, you, dude,
out
you're
everywhere.
living it.
Yeah,
And
it was a whirlwind.
you remember this moment? Do you remember being on stage here?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. This was there was a whole whirlwind
yeah.
after after the conversation with Jay King and then the manipulation of David Casey. We went on the road with Raising Hell, and it was only supposed to be the show that was in Oakland. We were subbing for the Beastie
Mm,
Boys. They did not make that southern western leg of that tour. So usually
mm,
a group that has something that they're trying to push, some new artist will buy on to a tour. They'll pay money to be added to the tour. But Rumors was higher on the chart than Houdini's, LL's, and Run DMC songs at that time. They had My Adidas, Houdini had Friends or whatever was up with them, and then L had My Radio. But Rumors was the number one song. So we didn't
whoa,
have to buy on. They were happy that we even asked to be on it. And from that, here's the
that's
third
massive.
manipulation. The production guy for that tour got into a conversation with one of the guys who is now working with us. This is another name you need to know. Alex Hill was a DJ for that group that I told you about. We used to go to these parties as
Mm,
kids in high
yeah,
school, right? So he
yeah,
was the DJ for that. So in our eyes, he was a pretty big guy and he knew
yeah,
music. So when it came time for us to do production to go do this show in Oakland,
yeah,
Marcus called him in. He had the equipment to be able to implement MIDI and get the sound to sound better than the little Casio that we had. So we
Yeah.
didn't have access to the vinyl and the instrumental of the vinyl. We didn't have access to that, so we were still working on it from the 808, the Moog, and a couple of other pieces of equipment I can't recall right now. So Alex is now with us. Now Alex is older than us. He's 2 years older than us.
Hmm.
So now he negotiates a deal with the powers that be on this Raising Hell tour, and now we have 15 more dates. But the
Oh,
pay is like 1,500 a night, no room and no board, and
oh
no
wow.
transportation. So we're going all the way across the country, but we have to pay for all of that. But get this, LL's making 15,000, Houdini's making 30,000, and Run DMC are making $60,000 a night, and we're getting 1,500.
And
So
your song is bigger than theirs.
yes, sir. The audience, as an opening act of a new group, we weren't getting booed. Once that fucking
Yeah.
started, it was on, and they
It
all
was,
wanted to see who was doing it because there was no visuals. The
yeah.
first time people
Yeah.
saw us was on Soul Train. They did not. There was no visuals throughout the whole United States. You know what I mean?
Oh
Oh
my goodness.
yeah, starting to
Oh
get
my goodness.
a little caught up now. Little anxiety. My stomach's starting to shake as I remember all this. Okay,
Yeah.
so what you just showed was Soul Train. So after we came back from Raising Hell and we did the Great America thing, now there is no other guys no more. So it's just me. So now Natty Prep, Charles Douglas has to put together a band for me because the idea is to do an album and follow it up. And let's go on tour and introduce the states to this kid and this group.
Yeah.
So the song is so popular. He reached down to LA, and now Cornelius wants us on the show. It only makes sense. It's a very popular song, and we're right there. So those people who were on stage were musicians for hire, and the background singers were my sister and her best friend. And we both sang in the gospel choir at the church under my mom's direction. So that's how I knew them. So those were the people that you see on stage. None of those people are the names that I mentioned earlier. That's not Marcus. That's not Greg. That's not Craig. That's not Darian. It's just me.
Oh wow.
Yep.
These are all artists for hire that are
Yes, sir.
basically just they're like a cover band right now.
Yes, sir.
This is a cover band that's
Yep.
standing in because after the Raising the Hell tour and then the Great America blow up,
Yep.
now the rest of the squad's gone.
Gone. Gone. Missed the biggest moment we could have all shared together. This would have been big. This would have been big.
Yo, I didn't
And
even.
now I'm just realizing that too. So now I can see why there's some bitterness. It just dawned on me right now that aspect of it. This was supposed to be my boys. It's supposed to be me and my guys.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yep,
it.
that's my sister and her friend Jessica.
That's it. So
Yeah.
this is the moment. I mean,
Yep.
it sounds like it was already obviously a problem, and from what the words that they had about you, they obviously felt some things. True or false, it was true to them, fact to them in the moment.
Yeah.
But maybe this is what like just kind of solidified it. It's like maybe we kind of thought he was going this direction. We thought he was thinking this, and we thought,
Oh
and then
wow.
this was like, oh, he
That's a
does.
good point. Good point. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. So they're watching this. They're probably like, "See, I told you this nigga just wanted to be out there, blood, without us. He didn't want to be with us, blood."
That's
Oh
it.
wow, that's not how it went down, man. That's not what it was. That's not what I was semi forced to do this. We had to do it. They made it seem like all the things. If you want to make money on it, we got to do all these things. Because
Hmm.
I don't have no place to stay. I'm out of mom's house, and like I said, I lived with Marcus, and now we fucking, so I'm not living there no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, man. Wow. Okay. It happened. You know what I
It happened.
mean? It happened. And hey, they all did their thing, you did your thing, unfortunately. And I think it's just for all of us as fans, like it's tough when we all hear that these great groups that could have done what could have been, and then boom, they were gone. And it sounds like all of this for you guys happened in like a year or so. Like it doesn't seem like this is a long time.
Yeah, about 12 months. Yep.
12 months to go
Yep.
from, hey, we just recording this song and just getting in some parties and let's see what happens, to this in a
Yeah.
year. I mean, and that just a quick moment to anybody that's watching, that's young or not, or but you're trying to get in the music industry or in any entertainment industry, because this can happen whether it be, in acting and singing and dancing. Just know the industry has been doing this for a long time. They
Hmm.
know what they are doing. Do not think that you will outsmart them. Find
No.
some people that can be with you, that have also been in this for a long time, that can stand in front of you, because you do not know what you are in for.
Yeah, you can't sell yourself. I mean, some people can, but it's probably not a good idea. You can't
Right.
sell yourself. Let somebody else sell you,
Yeah.
so that the any negative conversations and developments can be off of you. Your
Yeah.
management can deal with that with the record company. Your relationship with them should always be a positive thing. You know what I mean? Let the
Right.
adversarial stuff come with someone else. Artists, be creative. Now, there's arguments against that. There are some artists who do it all.
Yeah.
For
That's true.
example, Prince
Yeah.
represented himself, but I'm sure he had a good lawyer, and that's one of the things that we didn't have. We never had a
Mhm.
lawyer.
That's
We
a
had
big one.
managers
That's a big
and
one.
record label people. We never had a lawyer. That's if there was one thing that I can give a piece of advice, that would be the only thing. Get a lawyer and don't be afraid of that language and don't be afraid of paying that money. That'll save
Mm,
you problems and money in the future.
yeah. Yeah. And from what it sounds like, even the non-monetary things, it could save you friendships.
That
it,
part.
it can save you
Save you
relationships.
mental anguish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it a lot of people see those those numbers from the entertainment, lawyers, and they're like, oh, I ain't paying that, I'm not even making that yet. And if you can't yet, you can't. We all get it.
Hmm.
But whatever you, even if you gotta, hey man, crowd fund this with your family. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They might
Yeah.
have a 2 hour minimum. If they charging, $400, $300 an hour, get with some family members, do a car wash, whatever you gotta do. Humble yourself for a moment. Go talk to
Yeah.
your church, get some money, and have them
Hmm.
look at it first. Like, don't be so focused on they seem cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, they rocking with me. They get it. They get the vibe. No, they don't.
Don't think that the older people in your community don't know what's going on, because money and
Yeah.
manipulation have always been around. So
Mm,
whether it was around music or not, somebody in your family understands how people move around money
yeah.
and manipulation. So
Yeah.
don't think that that OG who's trying to tell you
Yeah.
don't really know because this is some new style of music. Nah, it's
Not.
still money and
Yeah.
manipulation.
Yeah.
It's always the same thing,
Yeah. New music, same business.
same business.
Same business. All right. So I'm gonna just ask this and have you touch on it real quick, and then I want to kind of get into what happened with you and how you moved as a solo artist, and then we'll close out soon. I appreciate your time. I know we running a little later than we thought.
All
Um,
good.
so so Great America happens. The other three move on. Um, Michael is now solo. Not his desire. It's not what he wanted. But hey, life has happened. The industry has happened, right? And we are
Right.
now victims of it. And at that point, you just got to sink or swim.
Yeah.
You don't have the call anymore.
You're
Um,
right.
so Club Nouveau. Club Nouveau is comprised of who?
Um, Jay King for one,
Okay.
Grady Prater as the male singer,
Okay.
a girl named Valerie Watson as the girl singer. Um, again, Jay is just on it. They say that he sang some stuff, but Jay doesn't really sing, so I never believe that. If that's Jay singing on any of that stuff, that would be a surprise to me. And then the production behind them are those same guys who were in the studio with. me when I was doing rumors, Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy. So that's who Club Nouveau is.
Okay.
Grady, Valerie, um, McElroy, and Foster.
Okay. So these are not. I don't know why I thought that it was like some of the members or the members from the social club created Club Nouveau.
See, that's how Jay King was successful. He told that lie that Timex made them change the name. So
Got it.
if there is no footage of who the group is, except for a
Yeah.
few things. But everybody, there wasn't the internet back then. So if you
Yeah.
didn't catch it, you couldn't go back and look for it. There was no YouTube. So if you didn't see Soul Train, if you didn't see the American Music Awards or the Soul Train Awards, you have no idea who the Timex Social Club was. And Jay took advantage of
Right.
that. So the press believed him when he said that. Warner Brothers believed him when he said he had the voice, and they gave him money, and maybe they realized later that they didn't have the voice, but they had already given him money, and it would have been egg on the face if they admitted that they got the wrong group. So they rode with Club Nouveau. They
Right.
wrote them out. And they got one hit from a cover, but Jay King and Club Nouveau never gave them a hit song that they wrote. All
Ah.
their music is a copy of my music. Jealousy is a copy of Rumors. Why You Treat Me So Bad is a copy of Thinking About You. And Situation Number Nine is almost the exact same music as Why You Treat Me So Bad and Thinking About You. Club Nouveau and Jay King were just a knockoff of me and the Timex Social Club.
Mm. You know, it's
And they
funny
had
because I
the
was
aid
listening.
of the big record company, Warner Brothers, pushing that to the industry. So there were, I believe there's a lot of blackballing of me behind the scenes because I didn't just sit on my hands. I was
Yeah.
making music and doing hooks and trying to get record deals. And it's weird that they wouldn't take my call or they would
Mm.
not be interested. And the reason the excuse they used was, well, we heard he's doing drugs. What the fuck does that
Ah.
mean? You're doing drugs. Come on, everybody in that business is doing drugs. And after the meeting, you about to go get a line. Now, what the fuck are we doing, man? What are we talking about? So it was weird, and that kind of the constant no from the industry after the success that I had was
Yeah.
really weird to me. It was weird, and that kind of sent me to what I considered a lifeline at the time, but it turned out it wasn't.
Mm.
It was pulling me down. It was drugs. I got
Yeah.
into crack, and I thought that it was numbing me, and it was helping me. It wasn't helping nothing. I thought it was helping me. I was self medicating, and it wasn't working. But
Yeah.
drugs is what kind of thing. Once you start using them, the chemical part of it can really start
Yeah.
calling you. And addiction is not that
Addiction is
easy.
real. Addiction
Yeah,
is real. That's wild that it started with a lie
yeah,
about he's doing drugs, which then
yeah.
caused probably just such a crippling emotion in that moment
Mhm.
to have, 'cause the industry is massive. People don't understand what it's like for something that big to push against you. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Especially when
yeah,
this is like your calling. This is something that you want to do with your life. And then this massive, especially during that time, I feel like they've lost a little bit of power now because there's a lot more independent artists with the internet and whatnot. But back
yeah,
then, it, it's almost a religion within itself.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
for that monster to push against you, yeah,
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 yeah. It was rough because I
yeah,
would hear what they were doing. I mean, like, first of all, I sing way better than that, and second of all, we had Valerie in our group, kind of on the side, and we tried to do things, and it didn't work. Her voice didn't really go with mine. So, I have videotape of us singing in talent shows, trying to do songs together. It just didn't work. It wasn't something that I would have wanted to do. But that's who they chose.
yeah,
Grady went to school with some of us, and he's from Berkeley, so we kind of knew each other. So
yeah,
yeah, Jay King, he was smart in his little manipulative ways. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and so this song again, I don't know what's a lie and what's not. So I'm glad we got you here to clear it all up. I do understand, it's, a different side to every story. So maybe Jay King's version sounds a lot different.
Mhm.
We get that. For all I know, maybe Marcus's version sounds completely different. Like, but I'm this is your truth. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here to tell it. So, but this song, Jealousy, from what I hear, has like almost like they're talking about you.
He is. He's mad. That little short motherfucker was mad that I did not choose him. He was mad.
So okay, so when you say who you talking about, Jay? Or you
J.
talking about
King.
J King?
J. Kid.
So now this guy that we're seeing on here as the lead singer, you said his name earlier. What was his name?
Grady Prater.
Grady. Okay. Okay. And so, but this song, I don't know if anybody's, A and B these songs, but if you listen to Rumors and you listen to Jealousy, it sounds like a remix. It sounds like they took the essence of this song of Rumors. They kind of copied the melody a little bit. They tried to kind of go away a little bit, but it falls right in line. You can play them on top of each other at a club
Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
easily, easy,
Yes, sir.
same key and everything. And
Hmm.
so is there anything that they said, whether then or in hindsight, that you felt like, okay, yeah, you kind of got me. That was true. That
Oh, to
those
be
lyrics
honest,
is
man, to be honest, the shit was so personal and so infuriating. To
mm,
this moment, I've never listened to those songs in its entirety, so I couldn't
wow,
tell you to save my life what the lyrics are all the way through.
wow,
Gun to my
yeah,
head right now. What's the first line of Jealousy? I couldn't tell you.
wow. Well, one thing I will say from me listening to it is that it does sound like bitterness. I mean,
Oh, for sure,
you
for
can you
sure.
can hear it. You can hear it. It sounds like, and they use the word rumors a lot. I've noticed that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like they use the rumors are getting
Subliminal.
to him. Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
it's subliminal from beginning to end.
Yeah, and he had his own community, so he needed to persuade them that he wasn't the bad guy in the situation. Because if it ever came out, because at the time Sacramento wasn't able to, they weren't in the loop as to what the Timex Social Club connection to Club Nouveau was. So their hero, still to this day, is Jay King and Club Nouveau, because he makes it seem like that was a Sacramento um, upcoming kind of thing, whereas it was second fiddle. The Bay Area, Berkeley did that first, then Sacramento grabbed on in a shady kind of way to what I was doing, manipulated the business. You know,
Mm,
your Benny Medina's. Benny Medina
mm,
was very popular back then. You look his name up and you'll see the success that he had
yeah, I
on
remember that.
television and in music. But he
Yeah.
worked for Warner Brothers and he chose Club Nouveau instead of Michael Marshall and the Timex Social Club. And that is something I want on the record because a
Mm,
lot of people get praised for the things that they did in business,
yeah.
but they don't get called out for the negative, shady shit. Sylvia Rhone, Benny Medina, all these people knew where I was and what I was trying to do, but they were also in the group of people who were telling me no. I
Wow.
went all the way to Germany, got introduced to Sylvia Rhone, still didn't want to have nothing to do with me. I had two hits at that time. Two certified hits. Rumors and I Got Five on it are certified hits from the Bay Area,
It's a
and
fact.
I can't get a call back. But that doesn't make sense in that business. Now I know how that business works.
Yeah.
You have to take a risk with somebody who already gave you two hits.
Yeah.
Why would you put your money into Club Nouveau and they didn't give you no hit? The hit they
Yeah.
gave you is a cover. You're not even making all the money you're supposed to be making because you got to give most of it to Bill Withers.
That's a fact.
I'm writing original shit. I never understood that. See, that's why I was mad and bitter for a while. And drugs definitely made that worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I could imagine. I could imagine. And you're right, because it doesn't normally work like that. And when you start hearing stories like that, you're like, okay, somebody got in somebody's ear about something.
There you go.
There's something, especially if you
There you
can't
go.
point to anything, concrete that happened, anything substantial where you say, well, I guess there was that time that I went off in the exec's office and I slapped that dude. You know what I mean? Like, there's no moment. So it's
Yeah,
like,
never
okay,
given
this
that
is,
opportunity. Never invited for meetings. Never even took my calls. And the management who was representing me weren't getting the callbacks. So I was never able to go into it. The only place where I went into meetings with record execs was when I was in Germany
Mm,
promoting I Got Five on it because we went to number one over there. But the
mm,
Loonies at that time were young; they couldn't really get out of the country as fast as I could. So I went
mm.
to help promote the record. BMG hired me as a songwriter, and I'm trying to get a solo record deal off of the success of the past.
Yeah,
Nobody bit.
no.
Nobody bit.
All right, so let's talk about I Got Five on it because, yo, that is a monster of a song. It's a classic. It's by far, I would say, in my recollection right now, by far, I would put it as the biggest Bay Area song of all time. That's my opinion, and maybe I'm being biased right now, but like, because obviously, Short got big songs, 40 got massive songs. We got Rapping Forte got big songs, like Mac Dre. Like, we got tons of great music that came out of the Bay Area, and I'm not trying to minimize that by far. But when you think about how I Got Five on it grew as a cultural, like, iconic song, how it's used in day-to-day verbiage, how it just how it spread, it just feels like nothing else has done that.
I
Nothing else
agree.
has those kind of legs for that long. So how does that come about? How did you know the Loonies? I know you said they were younger guys at the time. You're working in your solo career. How did you even get to that moment of writing that hook for the Loonies for I Got Five on it?
I was doing work for hire. I was singing hooks for underground rappers who were trying to get success, right?
Hmm.
Now, to a lot of them, the Rumor song was big and it got me respect, right? He did that and it was big. The only other person who had that kind of success at that time was Too Short, right? And right after me came MC Hammer. MC Hammer definitely followed me. Um, so doing the work for hire, I'm working with a guy named Tone Capone, right? His name's Anthony Gilmore. He's a producer.
Okay.
He's done some stuff for Tupac and a bunch of other artists from the Bay Area. Now,
Nice.
I am one of maybe three singers from the Bay Area, but I'm getting a lot of hook work. Now, back then, and maybe even to this day, um, drug money needs to be cleaned uh, some way. So a lot of rap artists
Yep.
are prodigies or work with funding from that kind of arena. So
That's a
the Loonies, they're from Oakland and they doing their hustle. So the networks that they working with in that hustle are now trying to get into the music business because they've seen uh, how that has worked for some other people, maybe from the East,
yeah.
maybe also from here in the Bay Area, but in in a different way. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not trying to call nobody out, but drug money fuels the rap game.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's no. I'm not going to even say I'm not sure if it still does today. It still does. It
It
is what
still
it is.
does. It still does.
So
And there's
these,
some stories that we already know. We kind of know about the Diddies, and we know about Master P, because some of them are very open about it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And how they
Mhm.
bought records to move SoundScan numbers up, and then
There
the
you go.
labels notice. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I rock with them.
So I'm working with these young cats because they come through and they. So what? First of all, Tom Capone and I went to school together.
Okay.
So after Rumors is out, and now I'm not with the guys anymore. I do my thing. This is 86, 87. So 92, 93, 94, I'm not getting any attention, getting no love.
Mm,
So to make money, my boy says, why don't you do these hooks? These people are looking for hooks. They got love for you because you're from the Bay and they like your voice and it's unique. So he would get me work with various underground rappers from the Bay.
okay.
One day I came over and he tells me, because I've always, I've been ranting for years about how Club Nouveau's stealing my stuff. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it.
Right.
But my boy Tone, he's heard that story a million times. He's heard me tell it calmly. He's heard me scream about it. He's heard me cry about it. So
Mm,
he knows. So when these kids come in and they want to use the sample from Why You Treat Me So Bad, he calls me up. He's like, I'm about to do a song with that sample. Why don't you get involved with the song with me so you can get some publishing on that
mm,
melody? Whereas you don't have any on Club Nouveau's, you can get
right.
some on this one, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's all good. So the kids came with
It's a good way to
the
stick it to
words.
Club Nouveau.
Yeah.
A good way to stick it to Club Nouveau.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the plan. The
Yeah.
kids had lyrics for the hook. I got five on it. They
Yeah.
had that, but some of the lines were a little long. The cadence was different. I worked with them to get it to the cadence that you hear today.
Mm,
My unique voice, the soulful shit that I do, and that melody originally being mine's made me kind of fit right in that song better than anybody could have. Right? They could have went to anybody, but they came to me, and I didn't let them down. That shit worked. I knew from the moment we were listening to the hook and the verses that they did in a in an early version of it that the song was going to be a hit. I mean, I told them all in the room that. But
yeah.
at this time, I'm a user. Um, I'm charging maybe $600 to do this, so they're looking at me like a knot. They're not taking it serious. And when I tell them you need to divide the publishing, including the writers from Club Nouveau and all the other ones from the samples that we have, and include me and Tony and the rappers so we can all get a piece.
Mm.
And they didn't want to do it that way.
Who is they?
So,
They the rappers,
um,
the Loonies?
no, no, the rappers' management, Chris
Oh,
Hicks,
okay, okay, okay,
and his lawyer, Al Evers.
okay.
I don't know if they had a meeting about it or not, but they decided not to listen to the way I did it. And they let Jay King come in there and manipulate them until he got a bigger piece of the pie
J
than
King
what
back
he
again.
than what he deserved. And so
Oh boy, J King.
that that
Like
was
the
that was
boogeyman.
another thing that pissed me off. But turns out that what I requested um, was in writing. So years later, when I brought that up, that stood up legally so that I have 10%. Uh,
Mm.
so me and Tony, the rappers, um, Jay King, the guys from uh, there's a sample in there. Get down, get down. That's
Oh,
Cool in the
that's
Gang.
on there?
Guys from Cool in the Gang,
I didn't know they had a Cool in the
and
Gang sample on that joint.
bruh, bruh, I got five on it. Bruh, bruh, let's get key.
That's
That's
Cool in the
from Cool in
Gang.
the Gang. Yeah. So now
Right.
we all have the publishing on it. So it's a better thing than it was back then. But in
Yeah.
the beginning, I didn't think that. I thought I was getting screwed over again.
Damn.
Thought I was getting screwed over again. But luckily, what I did preemptively then,
Yeah.
before I got heavy into my addiction,
Yeah.
was the thing that would bring me back to where I am today. Once I
Yeah.
got clean and sober, showed that paperwork to my wife, she
Yeah.
understood what it meant, and it all kind of got better. But I missed the premium years of that financially. But
Mm.
it'll go down in history that I'm involved in it, and that is me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Salute to you. That's an interesting story, and I'm happy to hear that you were able to, like you said, get that. And congratulations on your sobriety. I don't want to gloss over that, because out of everything that you've been through, I know that's the one.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's the biggest thing I've ever did in my life. Yeah.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. So hats off to you. As of today, how long have you been sober?
Uh, 19, 19 years. Yeah,
19.
it's 20. It's 20. It's 20.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. And that says a lot about how everything else was handled, because deep inside that you have a certain resilience in your own being. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you showed a resolve through a lot of moments in your life from what we hear, but that one was like the ultimate test. It's like,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure once you won that one, everything else is gonna just seem light. Everything else is small.
The um the information I got in recovery the first day were things that I hadn't heard or thought of. See, my addiction, uh, I was with people who didn't seem like they were having the same kind of problems that I was having. In a
Hmm.
in a in a slang way, the shit was calling me, whereas it didn't seem like it was calling them. You
Hmm.
know, they could turn it off after the weekend that we had of smoking weed and crack together.
Yeah.
But Monday morning, it's calling me, and
Yeah.
so now I'm starting to feel like there's something wrong with me. Now
Mm,
you put that feeling on top of all the shit that had happened to me up until that moment, right? All the shadiness, all the manipulation by all these men
right.
who are taking advantage of a young man who has no idea of how to be a man. He has no
Right.
example,
Yeah.
none.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to finally hear in recovery is that, bruh, it's as simple as this. Your body chemistry, you can't fuck with crack.
Mm,
One's too many, and a thousand's not enough for you. So you need to call on, and you don't have the ability to stop because you tried. You need to reach out to a higher power. I don't know if it's God, if you believe in God,
yeah.
or if it's these meetings or whatever it is, but you need to turn this over to someone else and figure out a way to get away from doing this. This
Yeah.
is paraphrasing, but that stuck with me because
Yeah.
I thought something was wrong with me, and it wasn't. It wasn't that. It's
Yeah.
just that my body chemistry won't allow me to do it and
Yeah.
just put it back down. So
Yeah.
once I
Yeah.
realized that, I never looked back. Never looked
That's,
back. And
that's
it's the same thing about this business. If I had understood how to monetize what I was doing back then, I would have never had any of these problems. But I just didn't have any experience. And people who do have experience, they don't want to share that information. They don't
sadly.
want to share that information. I've
Sadly.
heard I've heard producers say it's not our job to tell the artist how to get paid.
Hmm.
So, in essence, an artist will end up signing away his whole asshole in the beginning and spend the rest of his career trying to get that back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a cold game.
That's a cold game, man.
Okay.
That's a cold game. So to your point though, who did you give it to? They said you're not gonna be able to do this by yourself. You need to give this to a higher power. Who did you give it to?
Um, just my group of drunks in meetings. That's who my guy was. My guy was a group of drunks in
Yeah.
AA meetings,
Yeah.
and because that's the kind of meetings I was going to. I was going to AA meetings. This is before I found out about Narcotics Anonymous. So
Mm,
those were the people, their stories, what they went through, and how they were doing it one day at a time, and that they were able to do it. I could do it, and I
yeah.
wanted to do it. And
Yeah.
once I started doing it, got those 29 days clean, never looked back. Never looked back. I did not enjoy all that shit. It was all depressing
Yeah.
and bad memories and shame and all that. I
Yeah.
do not miss that. I do not miss it.
It almost sounds like you remember that movie with Bill Murray, Groundhog Day?
Yeah,
You remember how he just keeps waking up as the same day? Sometimes when I hear people talk about self-medicating and trying to find a way to cope with some level of trauma or depression, it almost sounds like it actually keeps them in this groundhog day effect where it's
yeah,
like it pulls you away from it so you're not thinking about it, and as soon as you're
yeah,
out of it you think about it, so you go back into it so you don't think about it, and you kind of can't get away from the depression
yeah.
because of the thing that you're trying to get away from the depression with.
Exactly. And you have to get into a moment where you are sick and tired of being sick and
Being
tired.
sick and
They
tired.
call it the rock bottom, right?
The rock bottom,
Yes.
yeah.
There was a rock bottom moment for me, and a loved one. Look, okay, let me. So I wanted to quit for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And the people who I was getting high with decided that they wanted to quit. So the way that he was quitting, he was using a medicine called Wellbutrin, right? And Wellbutrin is an antidepressant, right? So he started sharing that with the circle of us who were getting high. And we
Mm,
didn't know anything about this medicine. We just knew that it worked, right? So after a couple of weeks, man, I started feeling a whole different kind of way. I started feeling happier than I had been for
wow.
like years. I was giddy. I
Wow.
wanted to get up in the morning. Different thoughts in my mind.
Yeah.
Man, that shit worked. And so I thought I was cured. So I stopped taking it. But you can't stop taking Wellbutrin
Ah,
like that. You have to be weaned off of it. So I crashed. Now, in the moment of clarity, when I was feeling giddy, met
mhm,
my wife.
mm.
Asked her to marry me. She said yes. That anxiety kind of set me back. One time is too many. Now I'm on a binge. She can't find me. But she loved me. So she did find me. And she asked me
Mm.
if I wanted help. No one else had ever asked me that. I
Oh
said,
wow.
yeah, I do want help. So she, she's the kind of
Wow.
person who does her research. She found some places for me to go to. We tried a couple, and we settled in on CDRP at Kaiser. Shout out to them.
Shout out.
And I took to it. There were two black men who had 20 and 30 years separately, clean and sober.
Hmm.
And so they were the leaders of this group. And man, it worked. I took to it. Never
Wow.
looked back.
Shout out to your queen. Shout out to the black queens that support the black kings when they need us, that
Yep.
see us when we're down, see the crown fell off for a moment, and come to your rescue. I mean, that's a
Yep.
great question. Do you want help?
Yeah.
Ain't no better way to say it.
Yes.
Do you want
Exactly.
it?
Hmm.
You already
She
know I
learned.
want it for you. That ain't even a conversation. Do you
Right.
want this?
Hmm.
Wow,
And we gave the right answer. Thank God.
that's powerful. I'm gonna ask this. It's kind of dipping backwards just because I know people are gonna want to know. How did J King get involved in the Loonies thing as well? I thought we were done with J King with Club Nouveau. I thought that was it, and all of a sudden the boogeyman's back. So how did
Because because the powers that be, the gangsters that was representing me and Tony,
Mhm.
Don Capone, and the gangsters who were representing the rapper did not listen to me when I told him you don't have to share this with him because it's a stolen melody from thinking about you. We can go say that it's from
Oh,
thinking about you, but no, they let Jay King scare him maybe with some paperwork or maybe even Chris Hicks's manager Al Evers was in cahoots with somebody and helped make that happen. But it didn't make sense to me, and I had no allies, and I hadn't put in the claim that thinking about you was uh, a copy or plagiarism from Why You Treat Me So Bad. So since that wasn't on record,
yeah,
there was no argument that could
got
be
it.
made at that time unless they were going to make it, and they weren't going to fight on my behalf because this was something new and they saw it winning for them. Why should we help this dude? Man, give him his $600 and get him up out of here.
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
now they don't realize that that melody is something I came up with. The
yeah.
melody that they use for Why You Treat Me So Bad is something that I made up. I
Mhm.
can tell them where the origins of those sounds are from and where that melody came from.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
I know. I'm taking you through it. I appreciate you. We're gonna close this out. I got two more questions for you.
Hmm.
Two more questions.
All
Uh,
good.
l- let's strip away, you know, all of the nastiness that happened. Once we got into the industry, once we start meeting executives and A&Rs and people that knew more than we knew as just kids in the Bay Area creating music to party to.
Hmm.
Looking back on that, do you ever sit and wonder with those first 3 to 4 guys, what could have been? If this didn't if it didn't go that way, what could have been?
Yeah, of course, I definitely, and but that, and I respect your question. First of all, I feel you, and that's a legitimate question. But as an addict, we're taught we shouldn't, would, and could ourselves.
Mm,
What
makes sense.
happened happened.
Makes
It is,
sense.
there was, I wish it didn't go down the way that it did, but it did.
Yeah.
So who's to say what could have happened? But um, me and my friends, when we were in school, we had big plans
Mm,
in the future. We family type stuff we were going to do. We didn't know where we were going to be working or what we were going to do, but we knew we were going to be friends for forever. And this fucking music industry
Yeah.
just killed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, I know that you have written a ton more music. You've released albums. I appreciate, even dropping the I've been watching performances. I've been watching or listening to you on Spotify. You guys have, and I'm saying you guys because I don't understand the composition of every song, but I get that it was a collective a lot of times.
Yeah.
Uh, but I get why you guys stuck to people's ribs so easily, and why your song is bigger than the LL Cool J joint and it's bigger than Run DMC joint. I get it because you guys have this approach that's almost like this common everyday people theme. You know what I mean? There's this easy relatability to the music that you create. I was listening to it thinking, man, they could be like, woke up this morning, cereal with no milk. It's
See?
like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's just
It's
like,
the relevance. It's the relevance.
yeah, it's just easy. And the moment you hear it, you're like, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know that. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
so uh you've been creating music, since you were a teenager. You've been um, you've done a group, you've had a group, you've done solo, you've worked with other groups, and I know you're not done.
No.
So my last question is, what's next?
I have a. I've always enjoyed all kind of music, right? So I wasn't really stuck in one genre. Once I got introduced to different genres, I kind of stuck with them and then did my deep dive into them. Excuse me. So I got this project that I'm trying to do, which is a cover EP or album of songs that people wouldn't expect me to be singing.
Hmm.
Songs that aren't from the genre that I'm from.
Okay.
But I love music and I love melody, so I find joy in all kinds of music. I mean, you'd be surprised some of the kind of stuff that I would listen to. But I have 4 or 5 songs that I'm trying to do. The song that I did for the last black man in San Francisco, the Scott McKenzie song, "If You're Going to San Francisco,"
Hmm.
that kind of opened that window for me because that was just something I had always been singing my whole life. I know that song, right? Very
Hmm.
clever.
Yeah.
Then San Quinn used it for a song maybe 15 years ago. So that always stuck in my head. And then when the opportunity was given for me to sing that in the movie as a cover, I took it and it did what I thought it would do. So I'm going to do more songs that are in veins and genres of movies that people and music that people don't expect. Maybe I can find
I
some
like that.
success in that too. And
I
then
like
the artist that I work for from San Francisco since 2004, Equipto, we have a franchise called KIM, Keep It Moving, and
Hmm.
we're up to number 4. So we're going to be working on number 4. And I invite you all to research all of that. You can
Yeah.
type, I mean, they call me Mike Meezy, but there are tons of Mike Meezys, although I'm the first. And the proof of that is that I'm the only one who has the Mike Meezy as a handle because no
There
one,
you
no
go.
one else. I was here first. But
There
if you
you
look under Michael Marshall, you'll find all the projects that I've done. Um, and and if you never heard of it, look into the Mofessionals. That was an era in between Timex and the I Got 500 years. And that to me was my most creative and most enjoyable time in music because I wasn't the front man and I was working with other very creative people in the music business from Berkeley. So it
go.
was a
Wow.
Berkeley thing and it was very creative and it helped me to hone my writing skills. Yeah, so I invite you guys to look up all that stuff. MichaelMarshallUSA.com has the links to all my music. I invite you to find some stuff that you probably never knew that I did, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find something in there you like. A lot of my stuff is about relationships, unrequited love, that kind of thing. But I write about what I feel, and I've always taken a liking to that kind of stuff, even when I was younger. Maybe because the early experiences with women were pretty much like that. I like her, she don't like me. She falls for this dude, he dogs her, and then I get to see it. And
Right,
yeah,
right,
so I've got tons of songs around that kind of theme, but other themes too, though. Yeah, I invite you guys to look into that. You'll find something you'll like.
please do, everyone. Please do. Mike, this has been an incredible conversation with you. I know it got intense at times. I appreciate you bearing through, kind of going backwards. And I do completely understand and respect the idea of your sobriety, like going forward. And so to even take time to, allow your mind to kind of bring all that back up. You know what I mean? I know that
Yeah,
it's necessarily the easiest thing to always do. Um, but I appreciate it, and I know that it blessed somebody. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
sure.
Someone heard that, and either they're in their own music situation in the beginning, they're like, "Oh, hold on, maybe let me take a step back," or they're not there yet, and maybe they're with their friends thinking, "And we never gonna let that happen to us," and they go, "Oh, hold on, well, maybe let's give that a little more consideration." Or who knows, someone who's already been through it, or someone that's dealing with sobriety. I mean, there's so many levels to your story, and I know we didn't get a chance to touch everything. I'd probably have to have you for 5 or 6 hours to actually do that.
Let's
But
do episode two.
there we go. I appreciate it, man. I would love to do that. We can talk and kind of figure out what we didn't go over, you know what I mean, and what other areas to hit. But man, just to have you here has been an incredible blessing to me. I've been listening to your music and your influence longer than I knew. You know what I mean? I got some real some invaluable information today to let me know, like, oh, I've been listening to Michael Marshall for a minute, whether it came out of his mouth or someone else's, and I can
Right.
greatly appreciate everything that you've done, my guy. Like, incredible work, man.
I
Incredible work.
appreciate it, man. I appreciate this opportunity too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to say in the chat real quick, we had Mama Wolf who said, "Thank God for recovery." I mean, I think that is like
Amen to that.
a great way a great way to end it. I'm gonna hit you up for one of my hooks. We're gonna talk
Let me
about
know.
that.
Let me know.
All right, my guy, appreciate you. The way that we sign off here at the Pod is Good studio, I'm gonna say Pod is Good. You say all the time. I'll say all the time, and you say Pod is Good. You got me? All
Yep.
right, Pod is Good,
All the time.
and all the time.
The pot is good.
My guy, I appreciate you, Mike Meezy. I'll holler, man. Be safe out there.
All right. Peace.
All right, now. All right, you guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. Episode 70. Did I not tell you you were going to be inspired, motivated, entertained? I know you can see it on my face. Like, I didn't even expect half the stuff that came out in that conversation. I tried to do my research, and clearly my research was attacked by the boogeyman. And by this point, we all know who the boogeyman is. And if the boogeyman ever wants to come on, we'll get your side. Because like I said, there's a story to every side, but we heard Mike's side today, and I don't in any way, shape, or form think he was being dishonest or trying to embellish. I think that, as he put it, he told you it from his eyes, from his vantage point. And he admitted to his naivete on certain areas. He admitted what he wanted and didn't want in other areas. And I think that that's valuable, because you can have 3 people, 5 people, 10 people look at the same exact piece of art or be in the same exact situation and all walk away with a completely different takeaway. That does happen. That really does happen. But to share what he shared today, I really hope that you guys got a lot out of it. Please share this episode with someone else. Tap in to everything that Mike is doing. Go to michaelmarshall.com. He has music that he's doing. He has other efforts that he's making with artists, and I'm about to go watch it back myself. So with that being said, this has been episode 70. I'm your man, Cashmere, California. I'm excited right now, and we out. Peace.